With back-to-back wins over the Lakers and the Hornets, the Sacramento Kings have become the surprise of the NBA this week. With Keith Lipscomb, I'm Adam Stanko, and today we're talking about surprising fantasy centers who have caught our eyes in January. And Keith, when you talk about the play of the Sacramento Kings, you got to talk about DeMarcus Cousins.
No question. He could be the reason why they're playing so well. When you consider the fact that 17 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and the fact that he's also actually shot 46% from the field in that stretch, that's a big deal. And if you look at those numbers there, this is something that, people expected may happen with him. Obviously, he has all the ability in the world. Some of the maturity issues come into question for certain. But he's coming off of consecutive 25 and 10 games. And, I think that makes him the perfect trade target right now. I just don't see him sustaining these numbers right now. And that's because of the fact that he also doesn't shoot real well from the field. 43% from the field, 66% from the line. And if you're in a turnover league, 2.5 turnovers per game, very difficult to take.
Obviously, with DeMarcus Cousins, field goal percentage is a killer. Well, for the Houston Rockets, we're used to fantasy production from the center position, although we're not used to it from a guy who's 6'6" in Chuck Hayes. Keith, what can you tell us about Chuck Hayes?
Well, Chuck Hayes, if you look at him, there's really nothing about his game that jumps out at you, but yet he doesn't hurt you anywhere in fantasy. Wouldn't you be happy if you got these numbers that you're looking at on the screen? 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steals, 1 block, 65% from the field. That's what he's giving you this month. So if you get that out of your final roster spot, how can you go wrong there? And if you look at the fact that there's only 2 players in the league in January that averaged 1.5 blocks and 1.5 steals and 1 block per game in January, LeBron James, Andre Blatche. I think you'd take that from Chuck Hayes. He should be owned in more than 15% of leagues.
It's pretty incredible. It seems as though the reason that this happens, Chuck Hayes goes underappreciated because he doesn't score very much. Well, a guy who has increased his scoring, Al Horford of the Atlanta Hawks, he's been unbelievable. And Keith, usually you see guys plateau and you think that's it, that's as far as they can go. Al Horford just keeps getting better.
Yeah, and when's this going to stop? I think we all thought that he might have just reached his potential, or is getting closer to his potential. But you look at these numbers, this was actually his worst scoring month of the season, 14.5. But the reason why his stock continues to rise is because of the assists and the blocks. 4.5 assists, 1.5 blocks per game. And he's the only player in the NBA this season shooting 55% from the field, 80% from the line, and scoring in double digits. So I think that really speaks to how much better he's gotten and how consistent he is. And once again, it's always nice to have a guy that doesn't hurt you in any area, and Al Horford is the perfect guy.
So, Keith, what should fantasy owners do with Al Horford if they happen to own him right now?
I don't think you can do anything but hang on to him. I really think that he is legit, and I don't think that he's reached his potential yet. I think that he has a lot more athleticism and a lot more game than people expected, I think, coming out of school, and I think you definitely have to hang on to him. I wouldn't trade him right now.
Well, there you have it. For Keith Lipscomb, I'm Adam Stanko. And remember, for all your fantasy news, check out ESPN.com.